Okay. Hi, I am Simon Galera, and I'm here with Alexander Schaff. We will be watching a pre-recorded session entitled The 3 Fundamental Mistakes That May Limit Your Career and How to Correct Them. And Alex will be answering questions that you submit in the chat window as the presentation goes on, so that once the recording completes, the answers will be available to all of you. So let's get started.
Yep, please. There are likely 3 fundamental mistakes that you make that limit your career. And today we are talking about these. First, there is your mindset. Everybody has a certain mindset in terms of believing about what they can achieve. And I was not different. When I started in my career, I had a very, very limited belief about many things in my career. And these really blocked me in stepping forward. The second is I also only focused on technical skills only. I was only obsessed with becoming better in programming, becoming better in statistics, but there's a whole other field that you need to develop in. And I completely neglected that. And lastly, I had very limiting beliefs about leadership, what leadership is. I didn't really get what leadership is. For me, leadership was all about supervising people, and that's wrong. So let's talk about these things. First, mindset. We come to work, we enjoy what we do, we get more and more tasks on our to-do list because we become better in programming, better in statistics, and we become busy. You know, every day we get a new project or a new task or something like this, and we get a little bit rewarded for that, get, you know, some clap on the shoulder from your supervisor, and you find your success there. And you do it and do it and do it and do it. You never look outside what's actually possible. The second topic is we fall into this routine. Every day we come to work and there's more or less the same things. We see, you know, the same people. There's maybe a little bit of a change. Sometimes, you know, the companies need to kind of reinvent themselves and have a change there. But overall, why change? Yeah, everything is in a comfortable place and we move forward with this routine. I think there's 5 different levels of mindset when it becomes seeing yourself as a contributor to the organization. The first is you're an implementer. And many people start like that. We just do what we are being told. Implement this table in terms of, you know, from a programming perspective. Write this SAP. Come up with a suggestion for a sample size here. And we just do what we are told. The second level is we become a service agent. We may ask a couple of further questions in terms of, okay, what exactly do you want here? Can you give me a little bit more of details? Okay, I do it. Here you go. The next step is already, and that's already quite a significant step, is you become more of a consultant. You see yourself beyond just being a service agent. You want to, you know, really help a person with their problems. You really want to deeply understand their problems. You want to help them with their problems. The topic is here, it's their problem. It's not your problem. You still see yourself as an outsider of the project. There's this project team. You're not part of this project team. You consult. And of course, you want to convince them in terms of what you think is the best for the project. But if they don't take action, well, it's their project. It's not your project. You're an outside consultant. The next step is being a leader. And the big change there from a mindset is now you're part of the team. You feel you're part of the team. You want to lead this team and drive it forward in these moments where your expertise counts, where it's really important that you step up, raise your voice and say, we should do it this way. We, not you, we should do it this way. And that's a really important change from a consultant to a leader. The last step is seeing yourself as an entrepreneur. At that stage, you probably not just lead as an individual contributor, but you build other people around you. You lead other leaders and you inspire others to do and feel and think in the same way as you do. You build other statisticians, other programmers to do these things as well. Of course, not everybody needs to get to this entrepreneurial state, but think about where you are. Are you an implementer? Are you a service agent? Are you a consultant? Are you a leader? Where are you on this journey? And think about what it needs from you from a mindset perspective to get to the next level. The second problem that many of us face is that we only focus on the technical skills. There's a conference and we go to the programming session, to the base session, to the adaptive design session, to whatever cool, nerdy stat sessions that there's out there. But we don't invest in also non-technical skills. And you're already, an outlier because you watch this video. You learn about what you can do to improve beyond your technical skills. Move on in that. Of course, our strengths and foundations are technical skills. That is kind of what our job requires, but there's more than our job requires. And I'm going into that now. Technical arguments are very, very often not enough. We need to influence, we need to drive change, and only using technical skills and technical arguments is very often not enough. It's not enough to just be right. You need to convince people. And that's also the difference between a consultant and a leader. If you're really a leader, then you want to convince people you are really on board there. If you stay with your technical skills and you're just a consultant, maybe it's fine, but you don't have an impact. So why do we focus so often on technical skills? The first is it's just our comfort zone. Yeah, it's really nice to just be in front of this computer, programming, doing some stats, talking with your other statisticians, with your other programmers about topics that are in your comfort zone. Also, we think it's not our strengths. It's not our strengths to stand up, to speak up, to present, to network with people that are other than we are. We are very often introverted people. We are focused on our technical skills. We are analytical people. And then we see these other people that, stand on stage and they're extrovert, and we just think, well, that's not our strengths. Well, it can become our strengths, but of course we need to invest in it. And we have some strengths that we can utilize for that. So the last thing is, it's just not on our priority list. It's not on our objectives. And I always tell people when I speak about objectives, have a win-win situation with your business objectives and with your personal development goals. They should marry up. When you work on something that you work on half a year or 3/4 of a year, you should not only progress for the company, you should progress for yourself as well. So there is opportunities there. The last topic are leadership beliefs. And I talked about this at the beginning a little bit. I thought only supervisors are leaders. Yeah, they have leader in their title or head of or something like this. And if I'm not a supervisor, I'm not a leader. Or the other way around, if I'm a supervisor, by definition, I'm a leader. That's also wrong. I thought about leaders are born. You know, you either have it or you don't. And if you have it, you're lucky. I don't have it, so I'm unlucky. I'll never be a leader. Actually, there's so many of us that lead outside of work, and still we don't see ourselves as leaders. And then leaders must be extroverts. You know, leaders must be these people that stand on stage and go, yeah, chaka. That's not necessarily how all leaders are. And of course, leaders must know it all. Yeah, so if I don't know it all, I can't be a leader. But actually, these are all wrong. You can be a leader. You're probably already a leader. You probably, you know, have driven some initiatives. Yeah, maybe for your leisure time. Yeah, maybe in your sports club, in your church, in your environment, in your organization. You know, maybe you have organized something with your friends. This is leadership. This is driving change. This is taking initiative. That is stepping up. That is convincing others. That's leadership. Never stop investing in your skills. Even if you're a supervisor and you think of yourself as leader, never stop investing in your skills. Do you think super athletes, you know, people that play in the NBA, that win golf championships, do you think they stop practicing, stop getting coached? No, of course not. Steve Jobs, for all his presentations, practiced and practiced and practiced, reviewed, looked at different things, how he can do a better presentation, can do a better pitch for his products, for the products of his company. He never stopped investing in his skills. Neither should you. Never stop investing in your leadership skills. Just because you have a title on your business card doesn't mean that you should stop investing in your skills. Those that really grow are those that still invest in leadership skills. There are CEOs that say 30% of their time they invest in themselves to become better leaders. So don't stop investing there. And leaders are not born, leaders are made. Leaders are made through hard work. There's a lot of coaches that talk about this. They don't get, you know, a leader on the field that, you know, comes in as a new player and is directly a leader. Nobody is that way. Do you think Michael Jordan in his first year was directly a big leader? Of course not. He developed into it. Also, leaders don't necessarily be extroverts. There's amazing examples in terms of introverts that lead differently. There's even books written about that. So just because you are an introvert, you're not a bad leader. You can actually be a better leader than many of the extroverts, because maybe you listen more carefully. Maybe you have more abstract thinking in terms of understanding the problem more deeply. And maybe, last point, you ask better questions. Because leadership is not necessarily about knowing it all, but asking better questions, going into the conversation and getting the knowledge from everybody, and not just relying on your knowledge, on your skills. Leaders tap into the knowledge and the skills of everybody. And so they ask questions, they ask for contributions from others. Leadership is about first communication. Communication is the foundation of everything. And communication is the only tool that leaders have. You need to be really good in communication. And when I speak about communication, I just not only talk about the communication I'm doing now, like giving a presentation. It's about first listening, active listening. Practice active listening so that you really listen to your counterpart. You turn off all distractions. You focus really on the other part, what the other part is saying. You really want to understand where they're coming from. You're not directly preparing your answer in your mind when you listen. You really listen to the other person. What's the point? Where are they coming from? And then invest in communication skills in terms of presentations, better written skills, better managing meetings, these kind of things. Networking. It's so important in our world. And it's in this pandemic even more important. Try to network with people outside of your circle. Before COVID, when I was at the office on a regular basis, I would have lunch with people outside of my function on a regular basis. And that helps me to understand more broader about the picture. And there's lots of other networking opportunities. Use these. Use these also to broaden your network, and then you will have a more influence. Yeah. Leadership is all about influence. And one particular part of influence are negotiation skills. Understanding where the other person is coming from, where their position is, where their interest is, understanding what your interests are, what your position is, and getting there to a win-win situation, or getting there to a situation maybe where you win. Yeah? Negotiation is not always about creating win-win situation. It really depends. And there's awesome books about that. There's, of course, the famous book about getting to yes, but I also recommend you reading the book Never Split the Difference. There's really, really big insights for everybody, not just for CEOs or for government leaders. Last, leadership is very often about driving change, because not doing anything different really doesn't need leadership. It's usually about you want to change something, you want to change your behavior, you want to change your process, you want to kick off something new, a new project, and that needs leadership. If things just move on, that doesn't need leadership. So this is really about leadership. And here's nothing in terms of you need to have a title here. So what are the next steps that you can do to move forward? The first is reflect on yourself. Where are you in this process, in these different steps that I talked about? Look for role models. Look for role models in your personal life. Look for role models in your professional life, and see what they are doing. How do they exhibit leadership skills, and learn from them? Aspire to be in a specific aspect like them. You don't need to copy them, yeah? Be yourself, but think about what would that person do in this specific situation? Read the biography of an exceptional leader. There's really awesome books about that. Yeah, for example, I really enjoyed the biography of Steve Jobs. You can learn a lot there. You don't want to be the next Steve Jobs, but you want to be a better version of yourself. And you can learn from, this drive, this risk-taking from Steve Jobs, his investment in his skills. Getting an experienced leadership mentor. Talk to someone that is already a leader from your perspective, and that you maybe have a good relationship, whether you can meet on a regular basis to reflect on leadership skills. And sign up for non-technical training like you did now. Continue in these. Continue invest in these communication skills. Take a role outside of your comfort zone. That can be at work, but it can be also outside of work, where leadership skills are required. Other free help is my podcast. So listen to the Effective Statistician podcast, where there's lots further content beyond just statistical content to improve your leadership skills. And there's also more webinars, recordings of webinars at theeffectivestatistician.com.
Okay, thank you, Alex, for that lively presentation. There have been some questions going on, actually very lively conversations going on the chat here. And so let's use some of the questions, forward them to Alexander so that he can answer them.
Yeah, there were lots of very, very good questions.
Correct. So do you want to start?
Yeah, I think maybe first kind of what are the areas to invest in? I think the first one was active listening. And active listening is really important because you want to really understand where the other person is coming from. Not just what he's or she is saying, but also what's behind that. Do you want to listen between the lines? So you want to also concentrate on the body language, on everything, and be really completely present there, not just kind of think about how I reply. Sometimes it's really good to also just, take a pause, not just, when the other one has finished, directly start speaking, but take a pause. Or if, paraphrase what the other person has said. That helps a lot with active speaking and making sure you're really connected.
Okay, thank you. The second question that I thought maybe needs answering is, do you also have lunch with people outside your organizations?
I think that is one of the easiest way to build networks and to learn more about the business environment, the politics, and the goals of the other people. So everybody goes to lunch, or at least here in Europe, everybody goes to lunch. And so that's a great way to spend time with people that otherwise have a very, very busy calendar. And then you can have a relaxed atmosphere and talk about what keeps them up at night. What are their goals? What do they focus on? What are their struggles? And that way you can understand where are the backgrounds, where are the things that you can help, and you can understand what's important for you to prioritize. Should I work on this project or work on this project? Should I do this just to get it done? Or is these other ones something where I really need to have high quality, where it makes sense to invest more in making sure that the data has a high quality communication, a really good visualization, sophisticated analysis that really gets the last out of the content, out of the data.
Okay, thank you. The next question is about this listening and communications. The question says, completely present is very hard these days. I believe that refers to the inability to be in the same room to meet and communicate. And the question is, what suggestions do you have for remote communication?
So I think first is, it's the same for the face-to-face communication. Try to make sure that you're not disrupted. That you only have the window where you're working with hard, big on your screen, that there's not lots of other things popping up, and that you really only see the persons that you are interacting with. That way, you'll not be distracted so much. And of course, turn your camera on. Yeah, because if you are on screen, then you'll likely be not kind of doing something else. Yeah, so that is very important. And how you act on camera, that will most likely be reflected by others.
Thank you. Next question. Do you ever get imposter syndrome?
Yes,
that's the
everybody
question.
gets that. So, and that never goes away. Yeah, so you just need to accept that that happens. It's the same with fear. You know, for example, fear of going on stage, that never goes away. I think even Beyonce talks about that. So if superstars like her still have stage fevers, and well, we shouldn't be, you know, hard to ourselves that we have stage fever. So just accept that and do it despite having that fear. That is courage, doing it despite fear, and going into these uncomfortable situations, even though they are uncomfortable.
Okay, thank you. The next item is a comment, I believe, and it says active listening and holding space for our audience is a powerful technique. I learned more about this in my health life coaching certificate and used it to great success, and with clients being super happy. That's a very good tip there. The next question is, I have to perhaps what people say because I have a hearing issue. I think this is just a personal statement. So let me look at the next question. How can someone be a leader in an environment with a lot of politics going on? That's a very good question.
Well, I think you first need to decide for yourself what you want. Do you want to grow in such an environment, or do you want to change your environment to have better growth? That's the first question. If you want to stay in that environment, then you need to understand what are the goals of what's going on. What is a network? Where are the people that really have the power? What are the unwritten rules in there? And then you can, you know, influence in the same way as you would do otherwise. I think it's then especially important to have lots of one-to-ones. So if there's a lot of politics, then usually you can't get to an agreement in a bigger meeting. And the bigger meeting is only there to communicate the agreement. So you get an agreement before in, you know, one-to-one small group discussions and things like that. And then you try to get everybody's input, yeah, so that it's not just your idea, it's also their idea. And that way you can drive things forward. But of course, it takes much, much longer. So then if there's, you know, a lot of trust in the overall organization, if people, you know, speak honestly to each other, if there's no kind of behind the back kind of politics going on, if everybody works to the same goals, yeah, I think it's then time to think about whether that's the right environment for you.
Thank you very much. Now I'm checking on more questions, and I'm not seeing any. So if
well, there's one other. When you're showing
okay.
all these skills, it could be a threat to your supervisor. Well, if
That's
that
right.
is a threat to your supervisor, then it's a bad supervisor, because I would love if my team members have all these great leadership skills, because that means my job is much easier and my achievements are much bigger. If you have a supervisor then that doesn't want you to grow, I think that's a bad situation to be in.
Thank you. More questions? I don't see any more questions. So if there are any, please post them there. Otherwise, I think we're kind of ready to wrap up. So I'll say some closing words. Thank you for joining us today to listen to the presentation. 3 fundamental mistakes that may limit your career and how to correct them by Alexander Schacht. We hope you'll continue to explore all the other great contents that we have available on the SAS Global Forum users YouTube channel. And don't forget to take the session survey on the SAS Global Forum Attendee Hub. Thank you.
Yep. And if you want to have more content, just head over to theeffectivestatistician.com and you'll find much more content also from me. Have a nice day.